Hey everyone, welcome to the Tavern, a raid cast with Dragon. I'm just relaxing on this chilly evening, enjoying a brew, waiting on a friend of mine to show up. We got a few things to talk about, so I figured I'd let you guys in on it. What's up with you, Valar?
What what's up, man? Just chilling.
Hell yeah, same here, same here. You know, Friday night, long work week, and they called me in for Saturday work, so, just trying to get raid in while I
That
can.
sucks.
I know, right? But,
Trying to actually enjoy Friday night and
right, good luck on that. Not if you're on that grown man status. So, we got a few topics, that popped up this week. Some pretty, some buzz in the internet happening. Um, there's really a lot to cover. You actually put out a video the other day, involving the raid pass. That's a big topic nowadays.
yeah. I mean, it definitely needs to be tweaked. We they have to do something because it is really underwhelming. And I actually considered somewhat do I just get rid of it, but it's hard to even for the 20% XP and everything and the 20% silver. I still want that, but I want more than that.
Right.
Like a lot more than that.
It's kind of like paying for your utilities. Like you have to get that. It's hard to survive without it, but at the same time, it's like, man, I really don't want to pay that bill. Like when
Right.
it comes around time to pay for it, it's like, man, it's not worth it though. You
Yeah.
honestly feel like they're getting over on you, but
Yeah, but there shouldn't be anything that you feel like that way, especially not with like a subscription type service.
right, right. Actually, I had heard someone in another Discord server today that was like, to me, this is light entertainment. And so that person, they spend, 10 to 20 bucks a month, similar to like a Netflix subscription or something like that. And, and he's like, to be honest, I don't feel like spending any more than that. And I'm like, yeah, and the raid pass is something you almost feel like you need to have. And, if you're going to progress, if you're a
Right.
regular active guy, and at the same time, it's almost like it's still not worth it. So,
Right.
what would you
Exactly.
what would be some suggestions you have for changing it?
Well, I have a few suggestions for changing it. So one of the big ones I think is like the multi-battle stuff. Now I know everybody runs auto clickers, and I don't know if it would be more to free to play friendly in a way, just let everybody run auto clickers because they already know that people are. But I think if you're already gonna pay for the raid pass, why not enhance this part of it too? Which is on the Minotaur and on campaign. I personally think we should have unlimited auto battles on those. So
Right.
with the raid pass, right? And maybe if you don't have the raid pass, you get the 80 or whatever they just came out with that they're testing this week, right? So everybody could have 80 or something, or 40, whatever, right?
Right.
But make it unlimited for raid pass holders for those two aspects of the game because that's the most grindy. And maybe even at like another thing I thought was even at say once you reach level 60, maybe make both those things simmable, and they can even. I might be enhancing the pay to win aspect here by saying stuff like this, but they can even have another currency, not a currency, but like sim tickets, something like that, where
Right.
they give them and boom, you just go in there, you click the button, drains all your energy right away. I don't know why they wouldn't do that because it would make us burn through things like insanely quick. Like instead of farming overnight, you could literally go in there and click the slider button and boom, you blow through 2,000 energy.
Yeah, and I
But
mean,
the
that would kind of, offset people who couldn't afford to do that on a regular, but at the same time, like the people who buy Raid Pass, they're fully investing in this game because there's not many, if anybody out there that's like, oh yeah, that 20% XP, that 20% silver, and then 25 extra auto battles, man. That's worth 10 bucks all day, 10 bucks a month all day. I'll get it. That's no problem. So people
right.
that buy that already, they're people that are fully invested into the game, and they're gonna go out and find their auto clicker. They're gonna go out and make sure that they have, crazy amounts of gems for refills, energy pots, whatever. So if they're gonna already do that, then you should probably just include it in the raid pass and make people happy for something that they're already gonna do.
Exactly, and you would get more players to sign up for it too. Make it more enticing, right? It's not enticing at all Now, you and I have it because we're hardcore players, right?
Right, right.
So
I've got it on
if
2
you're
accounts.
a hardcore player, yeah, if you're a hardcore player, you're more than likely going to get it. But it could open it up to the person who's, just like the semi-hardcore, the more casual type of player as well, which is good. If someone would be willing to spend 10 to 15 bucks a month, if it included that. Another thing that I didn't really even touch on in the video, which I kind of can't believe I didn't touch on, but is I do think it should enhance the energy you receive too. Like maybe you should get 40%, 50% more energy per day than everybody else does for having the raid pass type thing. That
Um,
would be huge.
I think if they changed the regen rate or the amount of energy that, like, if they gave it away as, like a daily raid pass reward, which is an actual thought that I've had, that alone, just raid pass would enhance your playtime rewards. You wouldn't get 7,500 silver. You'd get maybe 75,000 silver. You know what I mean?
Right.
And maybe, maybe even just take out the whole mystery shard, because people that play that often, they don't care about that one mystery shard. So maybe instead make it
Yeah.
an additional energy pot. And then maybe,
Right.
and this would be great for that arcane potion, it would be an alternating, depending on what keep was open that day, an alternating greater or superior pot. You know what I mean? Or a couple
that
or
would be
whatever,
cool.
something
Yeah.
like that. And then, keep the rest. You have 2 energy refills on your playtime, a pot we're talking about, and maybe upwards of 150,000 silver, which, I mean, come on, be real, that's like a +8 to a piece of gear.
All right.
And
That's actually a pretty good +8. Yeah.
yeah, honestly, yeah. And that is crazy. That's like 5 times more than what they already give us, and even then it's not nothing. So, just a couple energy pots, maybe an ascension potion, blah, blah, blah. And that would be an additional value onto the raid pass. But a thought that I actually had was they have daily raid pass packs. People who subscribe to raid, they are people who are willing to spend money on it. And they should have, similar to what the wild cards are when you're actually going through and leveling up. And especially people
like
that
different offers.
yeah, and it's only available to raid pass people. So that way, someone can't go through and spend $500-600 without and a lot of people do. A lot of people will join, and in their first 2, 3, 4 weeks will spend $500-600. They won't do that without feeling obligated to get the raid pass. And once they get it the first time,
Right.
they're gonna stick with it. And there's
Right.
increased revenue for player.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would be great.
Not to mention, one of the things that I missed the most after hitting level 60 was those level up packs. You know what I mean? I literally missed them on Dragon Boots, and because I was free to play my first couple months. I missed so many of the wild card and level up packs that now that I'm level 60, I'm like, damn, dude, my brand new account, it's got ballin' ass offers all the time. If I'm going to spend, I'm going to spend on that one. Well, if there was...
Right, not on the... Yeah, they penalize you in this game once you've spent a certain amount, which is absurd.
or hit max level. Yeah, once you're at max level, it's like, ugh. So I got an extra 10, 15, 20 energy in my, as far as my max energy goes. But other than that, I'd be happy just sitting, going from 40 to 50, and then resetting back to 40. You know what I mean? And bam, right there.
The other thing I talked about, which kind of ties into this point too, is like, they enhance the daily rewards. They give everybody daily rewards. The free-to-play players should have daily rewards too, but Raid Pass players should get better daily rewards, like what you're saying.
Oh, the login rewards?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
And then they should actually do it where I feel like only Raid Pass should have this to make it a little more exclusive in a way, because that way they can monetize doing this as well.
Right.
But every other game, now I've never really played that many other pure gacha games, so I don't know the experience with that. But I've heard that they have guaranteed legendaries there too. Most of the games I've played are like hero collectors, where you target the character you want, you build the faction to get to that.
Right.
But you'll eventually get it. So sort of like everybody will eventually get those characters. But the thing that would be really cool is if you had a raid pass, they would actually do it where, let's say it takes you 3 months, even if you want to say 6 months, that you get a special sacred shard, or even to call it a different type of shard for the raid pass, that's guaranteed to roll you a legendary. It could be any legendary, but you know that at least at regular intervals, by you actually having that raid pass, you're gonna pull. Let's say three. Let's say 3 months. You're gonna pull 4 legendaries a year if you have the raid pass.
An
That
an
would be awesome,
an
right? That would
anniversary an
incentivize.
anniversary shard. Every 3 months you get this
Correct.
special shard, and it's
Yeah.
guaranteed to pull you a legendary. That ain't too bad, especially since there's so
So it
many
promotes you.
legendaries, and half of them are crap.
Right. But it also promotes you keeping it, right? So that you're like kind of looking forward to, oh, okay, who am I going to get? I know I'm going to get somebody. Maybe I'll get Bad L. Maybe I'll get War Mother, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
that'd be an interesting game mechanic. You know what I mean? It'd be something that would encourage people to invest and log in and just stay active on the game. Between that and some login rewards, people would log in every day.
yeah, you'd actually make the people that are your subscription base stickier, where they'd want to keep it. They're not questioning whether they are going to get rid of it or not.
I
You
mean,
know?
it works for Twitch. I hate to lose my little badge next to my name in certain people's streams, so you know what I mean? I try to stick with that sub if I can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's nothing but a badge, so yeah, if you put in some actual extra rewards, people would go for those. They would make it
Yeah.
work.
And I mean, I don't want to encourage players to do this because you know this is actually, and maybe I shouldn't even say this, but they could, you know, take out the top 5 Legos if they want to do type thing. You know, okay, you're not going to get a Bad L or you're not going to get a whoever out of this, but you will get at least some of the top. But I think they should make it where everybody's available. But I'm just trying to give ideas where it would help both sides, like a win-win for everybody. You know?
Yeah, actually, that wouldn't be too bad. Maybe they could do a monthly pool. Where they even incorporate epics, a monthly pool of you know a handful of epics and a handful of legendaries out for your anniversary shard. And then so say I come up on my
Yeah.
my 3 month anniversary, I get my anniversary card and I want something out of that pool. I use my anniversary shard and hope for the best. And if not, then
Yeah.
if I don't like it, then I'll wait till next month.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and that's another way to enhance it too, right? So instead of just the legendary guaranteed, you have guaranteed epics at your 1 month anniversaries too. I mean, they
Right.
basically give you that in the beginning of the first 3 months anyway. You know, with the login epics they give you.
Right. And I think that's kind of one of the things they go in with those login rewards, and they're like everything has to be like crazy awesome. 500 energy, void shard, ancient, a couple ancients, you know, fucking 5-star epic gear and blah. It's like, man, people would be happy with energy pots and a couple dozen gems or something, and just a lot lower tier rewards if as long as they're like every month. You know what I mean? If you
Right.
constantly just keep giving out even these basic rewards to help people grind, to help people stack up gems, and even a couple shards in there or something. Just or even better yet, whether you're free to play or not, make it a progressive scale. At the end of your first week, you might
Yeah.
only get 100 gems or something, which is 2 refills. It's not really shit. And
Right.
but by your 30th day, you have a sacred shard or a void shard login day, and you have a million for people who logged in every day that month, and then make it a physical reset. Like they have a
Right,
start
and if
day
you-
and a reset day.
Yeah, then if you missed it, you don't get it. You don't get to not the way it is now. If you go in,
Right. If you miss
it
one
just
day,
goes
you can
to
go up
whatever
to
day.
login 29. If you miss 2 days, you can go up to login day 28. It isn't
Right.
like, oh, I missed day 7, so I don't get day 7s. Make it where, because then people will have the ability to pick and choose which days they log in. Instead, make it a progressive scale, and people will feel obligated to log in. And while they're on there, they're going to do stuff. While they're on there, they're going to get those packs shoved in their face that they put on every day. As a matter of fact, we had as far as the login thing goes, you remember 99?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
he asked
yeah,
about you
quit
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, he quit because he was.
Is he still playing?
He is now. He just came back today, and I let him in Dark Elves because
Wow.
he's the guy that got me into Chofly. He's the one that put my name out
Okay.
there for Academy, so I figured I'd do the same for him. Shout out to you, 99. But he's
That's hilarious. Now I forgot that. Now that you say, because me and Imperius,
yep.
he was called Sith Emperor back then. We started Academy, so now that you said that, I totally remember that.
Yep, you was the
uh,
you
uh,
you guys were the leaders that brought me in, and
yeah,
he was the word to vouch for me while I was down in public channels, just trying to help people and talk to people. Yeah, it was
nice.
crazy,
Yeah,
but yeah, he's back. But the thing is he left for like 3 months because he kind of had another game that he mainlined. But if there was those progressive login days, he would have at least tried to keep in tabs and log in on daily, even if he couldn't make it in Show 5 because our requirements ended up becoming more serious, semi-competitive type level. Uh, he would have at least been in the game somewhere, been in the Discord chats because he
right.
might as well. I mean, he needed an invite just to get back into the clan channels and stuff. You know what I mean? I was like, well, he would have at least tried beforehand if he had some kind of daily incentive.
Yeah, he would have stuck with it already.
Yeah, even if it was
Did he
his.
say why he came back?
No, he didn't actually say as a reason. He just, he's like, man, I spent a couple months grinding on this other game, which, he could have shared that. Even if he wasn't super serious, he could have logged in, done his daily quests just to get, the monthly shards and shit like that, and the login
Sure.
bonuses. You know what I mean? But he didn't because he didn't feel obligated to. So,
Right.
yeah, having login bonuses and having, a seriously tempting raid pass or subscription to your game, those are things that's gonna kind of make someone
Be
step up
huge.
their investment. You know what I mean? Someone who's
Absolutely. I think.
go ahead.
No, I think another thing with it too. I was just, I touched on this a bit as well. Was the auto battles in the dungeons they need to run too? I think it should be 100 to 150. Put that in raid pass as well because they know everybody's running an auto clicker, and yeah, theoretically, if you're going to run auto clicker and don't want to pay for raid pass, you're still just going to run auto clicker, right? But if you pay for raid pass, you should be able to have the same capability as someone who just has an auto clicker but isn't paying anything for it too,
Well,
right?
actually, I would
So,
semi disagree with that. I run
okay.
auto clicker. You know what I mean? I run my emulator and stuff, and if they made it unlimited, I would probably switch to purely play and play PC app, and run auto battles because auto battles sell the gear you don't want. It swaps out heroes when they hit max level. You know what I mean? Stuff
Oh,
like
that's a
that.
good point.
So even
That's a good
auto
point. I wasn't
clicker.
thinking about the.
Yeah, even auto clicker people, you know what I mean? I even if I'm at work, I got an auto clicker either running at home or on my phone, and I'll glance over at it, and it'll kind of limit what I do. I don't level up 2 stars when I'm at work, but I'll grind keeps and stuff, things that I know I can just hit auto click on and come back when I have the time to. Um,
Sure.
but if I had unlimited auto battles, I would definitely progress myself more throughout the game. And I'm no huge whale, so I could just imagine a busy free to play or a busy minnow who's like, I use all my gems for energy refills, and honestly, like I still have gems because I don't have time to sit there and use all
Right.
that energy all the time. So if they had, $10, and mind you, anyone of concern that has the ability to hear this raid cast out and do something about it, we're still talking about at $10 value. This does
Right.
not mean increase the value of the price of the raid pass. Increase the value of the $10 raid pass.
Exactly. Yeah, increase the value of the $10 raid pass. You'll find way more players willing to spend $10 a month with all this stuff. I bet you they would increase raid pass sales by probably like 100%. I would say if they gave all this stuff, even more potentially.
There, like
You
I
know?
like I mentioned earlier, there's some people out there that are only like I spend $10 to $20 a month on packs and energy gems and et cetera, et cetera. They would be more
Yeah, when I first,
inclined to buy that raid pass off top. Like that's their $10 to $20, depending on how many accounts and
yeah,
whatnot. And then they would still feel tempted to buy those packs.
yeah, and the big thing is if it did give some energy boosts and things, that the comments I got on it, that was primarily the one that was like, "Oh, this gave energy boost. I buy it in a heartbeat."
I
They're
actually,
like,
besides the increased rewards, I don't think they should like just straight out give you like, oh, you regenerate more energy, or you have this crazy amount of more energy available to you daily. But I think they should increase the energy cap for a
right.
raid pass. If it's a raid pass, you get up to 200 energy in your stash, or your energy bar, and that would be something because people who work or sleep that don't utilize auto clicker, even if they do, they didn't that night. They have a chance. They have a chance of actually generating more energy
Right.
because it's 20 an hour. So that means it takes approximately 6 hours to fill
To
up.
grind up
Well,
full energy.
to fill up a full energy. So if someone has 8 hours sleep a day, then they're capped out before they ever wake up.
Right.
So, increase it to something like 180, 200, so people can have 8 hours of sleep a night without setting an alarm to, run a fucking dungeon or something while they're, grabbing a drink
Larry
in the middle
wants
of the night.
wants us to be zombies who just sit on the game half awake and only get 2 hours of sleep each night.
Well, as sad as it is to say, I think it's working.
Yeah.
I get 3 or 4 hours of sleep nightly, but, I got a very, very full-time job, and, I got some kids, and make content, help the clan, and just try to be a gamer in general, and it's already a lot. I mean, if nothing else, think about all the other clan leaders out there that have so much to do if they're really going to try and grow in this game, and,
Sure.
there's not enough time in the day. There's just really not.
For sure. That's another reason why I want like these unlimited auto battles and stuff like that too, because there's not enough time. I still want to grind all this stuff up, but I honestly don't want to sit here at the screen and for 12 hours a day doing it.
Yeah, and they say that it would, things like that, giving more energy or unlimited battles for people who have raid pass is going to create a larger gap between whales and free to play. I'm like, no. They don't need unlimited battle. I bet you there's probably like not a, if there's anyone watching this, if you're a whale, even a small size whale, and you don't use auto clicker, let me know, because it's not creating any more gap by giving away more unlimited battles. What it's doing is it's allowing free to play or people who are too busy, even if they do spend a little bit, to actually catch up.
Right. Yeah, and for a small amount, like not a whale type amount, not not $99.99.
Right. No.
$9.99.
Yeah. Exactly. It would actually allow the player base to grow more and to get use out of these heroes. You know what I mean? With the Minotaur, like Minotaur's the worst grind. You brought that up, and that's like, yeah. To be honest, I can fully agree that if they're not gonna auto battle any other dungeon, don't do keeps, don't do dragon stuff that people are only going to do maybe once a month. Do Minotaur. Anytime someone gets a new hero, which this game's built around pulling heroes that they like, that they want to build, that they want to test out, experiment with, or make even their main team, they need to run them through Minotaur, and that can, for a free to play or a minnow, that can be a week plus.
Oh God. I swear, I think it must have been for me. The first minnow team was like 2 weeks, but if you're free to play, just farming up that single character, I feel like would take a week right now. Don't you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not. I wasn't even talking about the first team. The first team for free to play. Yeah. The first team would be crazy, and especially if they don't use auto clicker, they don't buy refills all the time. They don't sit there endlessly all day long hitting retry. You know what I mean? It's like if they don't live on the game, then it's taking a month plus for your first team.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. That's insane.
And that's at the highest. At the highest levels of Minotaur, and some people can't even get there.
Right. Yeah, some people still farming 13 and things like that too, right?
Right.
Farming even the lower levels. Yeah.
It's crazy, and it's almost as if a lot of the bonuses and content, even Faction Wars came out, and it's like, man, that's designed for late game and people who are already well invested in the game and Wales. It's like, we understand that's where you get paid from, but realize that there's probably not going to be much that a whale doesn't. Ooh, damn. That a whale doesn't invest and spend into. So make it something that is also valid for even if it's not free to play, an early game player.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the other thing, Faction Wars is so, tuned ridiculously hard that even if you spend, some of these guys who whaled out for 30K on this game can't even complete it.
Yeah, yeah, just because they're missing that one or two heroes that are actually like viable for for the end of that faction's page. I mean stage. It's crazy. Like you literally have to have certain characters, certain heroes out of factions just to beat the end game faction stages.
Yeah, this has got to be probably a bad thing to admit, but I 90% of the time I don't even do Faction Wars. I feel like the only reason is because I kind of forget when I'm so occupied with all the other stuff, and it's such a low priority. Then if I do go in there, I just farm the first thing that takes 2 keys so I can do it as quick as possible.
Yeah,
I don't even care.
Yeah, actually, on my old main. Are you serious? On my old main Dragon Boots, that's what I do. I forget, or I don't even I'll have a decision between that and even refilling my energy, spending gems to refill my energy and go do some food or some dungeons or Minotaur or whatever, and I'll pick any of that over Faction Wars. And,
yeah, exactly.
And I'm a farmer, so I have no problem grinding a early level stage to get some 2 or 3 star glyphs. You know what I mean? That ain't the problem. It's the simple fact that I know I'm not going to progress through it anytime soon. I don't have the roster for it on that one, so why even invest? They definitely, the Faction Wars is definitely something they need to fix.
Absolutely.
And Cirilla posted on something on it today, so it's in the works, as what they said. So we can only hope for the best on that. Let me see. Pull it up and see what she said. 'Cause to be honest, I wasn't even paying attention at the time of. Well, I'm already down. Let me see. Oh wow.
Yeah, she posted a bunch today.
Okay.
There are a couple things.
Yeah, I didn't know about the summon simulator in the official Discord's Tavern. I guess you can simulate you some summons.
Wait, what? I didn't even see that either. What's that all
We
about?
have opened this cool channel called Summoning Simulator. It's in the Tavern, right there, Tavern. Summoning Simulator.
You can simulate what summons would happen.
Yeah, I guess you accumulate points. How have I missed this?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that at all today. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I guess you. This is crazy. See, we got someone here. 1 sacred shard open. He summoned Kitus. He has some points left. He's a uber legendary 1%, legendary 6%. Let's see. Anybody else has summoned? Ancient 10, Gnarlhorn, Rotting Mage, Bone Knight, Maze. Okay, so this is a fun little thing here. That's cool.
So is it just it's all hypothetical? It's like a simulator?
Yeah, it's just RNG.
Okay.
It's just an RNG.
Okay. So you type in the thing there, and it tells you the random stuff you would have gotten.
Yep. Look,
something?
you start with 500 points. Each 2 minutes, you get 1 point. Points can be spent on opening shards.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
That's cool. That's fun.
I'm gonna go in there and play around with that later.
Right. Well, there's there it is.
Yeah.
Oh look, they even got a ranking board. These are.
Oh damn! They got ranking leaderboards on it now.
Yeah. Oh, too bad we can't get that in game.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit of a whale thing, but it would definitely create
the champion chase tournament type thing.
Yeah. The tournaments they do. The tournaments they have leaderboards. I mean, I guess that's kind of a thing, but it's not consistent enough for people to either angle for you. Like even small whales or dolphins, they might I hit top 100. I hit top top whatever.
Yeah.
To finally see their name on the board. That's
right.
That would be interesting. Oh, and it even keeps track of what they have summoned from legendaries and epics.
Oh, that's cool.
And collections. Yeah, that's interesting for sure.
Something
All right.
pretty neat to screw around with.
Here we go. Guys, we've seen tons of your feedback about Faction Wars since they appeared in the game, and we could not possibly miss your request to reconsider the difficulty level for crypts. We would like to let you know that some serious changes are coming in this area with the 1.12 release. We do urge you to play in crypts as much as possible to take in all of their roughness right now so that you see the change when it's there. Difficulty will be significantly decreased. Good glyphs won't be a rarity anymore, and your champions are in for some really good treat. Have a great weekend. Well, that sounds promising. That sounds interesting. Definitely.
It does sound good. Yeah.
And that's something that, there's been some other content creators out there that have spoken on this as well, and it's literally, it takes an easy way of putting it, since the first, was it stage 21, stage 22, whatever the last stage is, the first clear was done not too long ago.
Right. I think I saw Stu had a video on that, right?
Yeah, I think he shared the same one, and I think it's someone that's actually in the Sin cluster, or maybe it might be in I can't remember what the #1 team is right now, or the #1 clan is right now. It's like Legends or something.
Okay, yeah, I remember that now. And then Brad, dude, I was watching Brad's stream. It was either yesterday or the day before. No, it had to be like Wednesday night. And then he's doing the undead. I don't know if it was, I think it was 15 or one of those boss levels. And he's got 2 bad Alcazars and he's struggling to beat it, right?
Right, one of the most sought after heroes.
Like, this is what makes people hate it. It makes me hate Faction Wars even more watching this.
But what's crazy is, to beat the final stage of the faction, and it's only Sacred Order that's done it. They had to run an unkillable team, which is one of they're pretty much the only comp that's ever came out that they was like, oh, we have to nerf that. We have to nerf an entire mechanic in the game because people are, utilizing it to loophole the rest, mechanic of a mechanic in the game or something. So,
right.
You know what I mean? That's the only way to beat the final stage is to use something that they find unfair. So clearly, the difficulty that is stage 21 or 22, whatever it is, needs to be dropped down. It's 21. It needs to be dropped down to where a reasonable comp can beat it, and then everything else needs scaled from that.
Oh, the whole thing does. I mean,
yeah.
Once you get up there in what is it? I feel like right past the first boss, they just significantly increase the difficulty. It's ridiculous.
Dragon Boots has got a pretty crappy roster, but I've always kept my rares, and I pay attention to their kits, so I kind of can see what is actually more useful than a regular rare would be, and even utilizing that and some pretty good gear grinding and all of that, I could only get up to like stage 10 or 11, I think. And after that, there's and even then, that's like manualing the last 2 stages, not even autos, and and it's rough. And I mean, I'm a nightmare hitter. I'm not immensely deep into the end game, but I put time. I practically live on raid, so even with a crappy roster, I'm able to put in some work, in every other area of the game except for Faction Wars. I come up. It's a really short to where I feel like I should. So, other than just scaling the last stage up, what else do you think that you could utilize for Faction? What do you think that they could change in Faction Wars?
I don't know. I mean, I know they had another post. It must have been a month or 2 ago now, where they said, "Oh, what would you guys like for us to keep more than 2 crypts open at a time, have it on a regular rotation, all that stuff? Maybe change some stuff with that." I don't really care if they don't change that as much. I just feel like the difficulty is just absurd. I mean,
actually, I could see that being viable just because, like we said, we don't do it every day because we don't feel it. But if we was like, okay, currently I work on Sacred Order, High Elves, and Dark Elves. Those are the only 3 factions I mess with, but I don't check in with Faction Wars every day to even see if my faction's there. So to have a regular rotation where I know, like, all right, it's Thursday, I gotta do my Dark Elves today.
Yep.
I mean, things like that would help. Especially people who are not to a point where they can fully invest into it.
That would help because you're only going to focus on a couple teams and you would know the day to do it. So it would make sense to do it that way. It's better than this random. Oh, this one is open this Monday, and it might not be open until next Friday. Something I don't even know how they do
Don't
it.
even know. Yeah, it could be open 2 days from now. It could be open a week from now. No one knows.
Yeah, they got some that open every other day, and some that take 2 weeks to open.
Yeah, they kind of went too far on RNG for like when a crypt closes, there's a random date applied to it. It's like, man, so all right, let me go to my calendar and set an alarm for that day. Like, damn,
Right.
what the hell? Actually, something I was thinking about for Faction Wars that would help as far as general difficulty scaling would go is they're like in some other gacha games, some other general mobile fighting, team-based games. There's strategies to utilize to beat these bosses, and it almost seems like for every couple, like every 3 stages, you have to change something in your team comp to either take advantage of or defend against another mechanic that's in it. Another set of heroes that has block damage or crazy debuffs. Multiple heroes on the enemy team does stun, and it's like. You almost have to build one DPS, a healer, and a bunch of buff remover, debuff remover, fucking TM manipulation. And it's like every faction doesn't have the ability to do that, or they don't. Like, if I remember right, I don't know, maybe it was about a month ago I checked that Barbarians only had one non-legendary healer. And even their legendary healer is Valkyrie, that's not necessarily a healer, but provides good defensive buffs. Man,
Right.
not every faction has the roles for that, and if they do, it's some subpar, crappy fucking kit where it's like, all right, that's almost not even worth filling that role with because it's not gonna really save my team.
Which makes you think like Polarium should really. This is another thing that they should prioritize actually, and I know it's a big issue too. Yes, decrease the difficulty of faction wars, but you also need to tune all of your rosters and make sure that all of your available champions and make sure that they have active synergies because they need to have synergies. Like that's where my experience with hero collectors is actually they do it better in there because you have a specific faction that all have some synergy with each other. Right?
Yeah.
You actually want to build teams that are in the same faction because of that. They're stronger if they're in the same faction. They get bonuses off each other for being in the same faction too. So there needs to be
that would be dope. I've mentioned something like that with I think it was our last podcast, I believe, that we was talking about duplicate champions and duplicate Legos, legendaries, and to be able to have like I'd mentioned a duplicate legendary passive type thing, like if you have Roshguard on this team, this Roshguard gets -1 cooldown to their block damage skill, which they probably would not use because unkillable would be completely possible. But
Right.
things like that, the tandem kind of abilities, but for duplicates. Well, that's an even better idea for factions. You know what I mean? To even on dungeons and other things to have a faction passive, a faction buff, a faction skill. That would be
Yeah,
better.
because then it would incentivize you to say, hey, if I really like, it makes it more fun too. If I really like barbarians or whatever, if I'm Lord Bronco and I want to be the barbarian,
Right, and that's the thing is
build a
everyone
roster
does. Everyone does. I named my clan Chofly Dark Elves because I'm a big fan of Dark Elves. I like most of their heroes.
I love high elves.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and here's the thing: the faction most I would say is that that's how it would actually be built if it was implemented. Most of the faction skills wouldn't be like universally useful, but
Right.
in faction wars it would definitely it'd be like, yeah, man, that gives my whole team some kind of crazy boost. Like I don't know, War Maiden comes with some crit rate buff instead of the auras. They gave
Right.
a whole bunch of heroes auras. They should have gave faction passives like that are active. Every hero on that team's active, not just the leader's aura, but the whole team. So that way, oof,
Yeah.
I see my problem now.
You-
And yeah, you know what I mean. Something that would give a whole team of level 40s, 50s, 60s an actual leg up in faction wars only.
Yeah, you could have say if you're barbarians, you have that guy Ator has a heal over time or something. That's just a passive, something like that. I mean, add something to it to make it more. I think it would make it more fun actually that way too, because then it'd be like, oh man, I got a reason to build some of these undervalued characters now because they're actually be good at something and working together too. Right?
Right. And
Yeah.
the thing is it wouldn't be like, oh well, every dungeon I go into, I use all, high elves or I use all barbarians, because you would still rely heavily on your legendaries and the team comps we have now. But
Yeah.
I would expand it outside of the faction where, like, I wouldn't let it just be a faction wars only skill, because
Right.
people ain't gonna run around with the same faction in Dragon 20. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
if they can, then cool. You know what I mean? That'd be great content. That'd be fun to build. Off of that, especially because everyone has a favorite. But
Right.
they would still utilize, the multi-faction teams for most of the game. But it would definitely add a definitive bonus for faction wars. And then for people who want to run double Valk, they get, in that part, I would probably say that only one passive for duplicates would proc.
Sure.
Maybe double. It just really depends on the strength of the faction passives or the faction skills.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not passive. Maybe some are only available when there's 2 or more barbarians in the team, or something like that, and it's an AOE attack with debuff on it or something, whatever.
Or you'd have to choose like. You have these 3 available. Which one do you want to run, or something like that? I don't know. That might be a little too much programming.
Yeah, I don't know what that would take, but even if it was just one, you know what I mean? Instead of doing these auras that are only applicable in faction wars, and it's like, I'm not going to run that aura because I'm not going to run that one aura as my lead because the whole rest of the hero's kit sucks. But if I could throw that person in, if I could have an aura, a nice strong aura that I liked, and then my other barbarians have passive faction skills, and it would add immense amount of synergy between faction wars teams, and it would encourage people to maybe even use other heroes outside of faction wars rather than running. I run Valk and Xavier and these same 3, and then maybe I'll swap in 1 or 2 heroes depending on what stage what stage or what dungeon I'm in or whatever. They'd be like, well, these 2 or 3 out of barbarians, they synergize real well for dragons, so I'm gonna try and run those 3, and then maybe it's some dark elves for Fire Knight, Foley and Ray with her A1 defense down. If they had some faction skills in them, then that would be that'd be interesting to kind of swap out different teams altogether. You wouldn't just be running the same teams everywhere.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a spur of the moment thought, but faction skills, giving boost to using the same, a certain amount of heroes from the same faction would spread, a variety, the urge to have a variety of teams outside of faction wars. Especially since it's already coming off as an in-game only content. We haven't had something for the early to mid-game players in a long time.
I mean, it's completely unachievable for most of the player base, I would feel like. Yeah, you have a percentage of the player base that is going to be able to do it, and we're whales out and all that stuff, but even the average guy who spends probably, let's say, $30 a month on the game, something like that, so a fairly low type spender, they're not going to be able to do anything in faction wars.
No, not really. Maybe farm the first 3 stages for 1-star glyphs. But that'd be about it.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems like a theme. You get the login rewards and some small things, the wild cards, level up packs where you're spending money and stuff like that to kind of quote unquote trap new players. But then that's about it. As far as actual content goes, it's very limited as a new player. You're pretty much just stuck in campaign making 6 stars until you get enough to do Minotaur, and then hopefully a couple months down the road you can start hitting some dungeons and actually getting gear that's worth it. So and then these events don't help. I mean, honestly, they're never free to play friendly. I mean, look at our current event. I watched a video earlier that described it perfectly. You know, you're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on shards for this summoning event to get an okay epic. And then, yeah,
Right.
you get some of this other, you know, the books and the chicken and plenty of energy and stuff. And the totals and the number of occurrences on the reward board, yeah, they're kind of starting to look decent. But man, the numbers that you have to achieve for that's crazy.
Oh, it's absurd. I mean, the the 2,500. Okay, and I remember. Heck, I remember. It must have been a month or so ago. I feel like the 2,500 was something that they actually kind of tested out a little bit too, and now that's kind of stuck. Because from what I remember, I think they used to be 1,500 or 2,000 to complete
I
the
think
summon
when yeah,
run.
I think like my first month or two of playing, like you know, maybe like in June or July, they was like 15 to 2,000, and then they went up to 2,500, and people kind of grumbled about that a little bit, and then they went up to 3,000,
Yep.
and people was like, what the fuck for the absolute last reward, you know what I mean? 3,000, that's still like man, that's six sacreds, that's completely spend. You know, you have to spend for that or save,
Right.
you know, save a crazy, you know easily your first, you know, 3 4 months, including grabbing some sacreds or voids from other events and you know all this other stuff that you had to do to even accumulate you know, six sacreds or what was it like 15, 20 voids or something like that. To even get to
Yep.
3,000, and now look at us today. We're at 10,000 for an okay epic. I mean, she's
I
interesting looking, but it,
It's honestly like price gap. It feels like, cause I'm in Florida. It feels like when someone has like a gas in a hurricane and sells a gas that's normally like 250 a gallon for $10 a gallon. That's
yeah.
what it feels like.
Yeah, and that's crazy. And you know what I mean? When you're looking through the top two, if this was a tradition, if just the top two rows were like kind of a traditional event, it'd be like, all right, there's a good amount of energy in here. There's about 500 energy. That's cool. Couple books at the end. That's what's up. Legendary speed artifact. That's real good. A banner for people who don't think that they can finish the event. It's like, all right, I'm gonna get to that banner. 3-day XP banner. That's cool. That's good. But then you look past that and you're like, man, I want to push to the rest of this stuff, but I've just to get to the end of the first two rows, it took all of my budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How are people going to push past that? And then the thing is the people who do have a larger budget, well, guess what? Now they got a couple extra chickens, a couple extra books, another legendary and artifact, another 500 energy. It's like you literally covered every area in the game that people are going to want something, and you gave people who are willing to spend, not just spend a little more, but spend a crazy amount of money to get
Oh yeah.
a clear and obvious. You know what I mean? Even if where Baby Dragon's at, like you know, day 40, whatever. And it's like if I made it to the legendary book, it's like I got one rare, one epic, and one legendary book to kind of help my team out. 3 days of XP boost and some energy. You know what I mean? Because honestly, even that 40 gems will go towards energy. And it's like, all right,
Sure.
that's what's gonna go there. If the neck, you know, Joe Schmo next to me, that's in the same level I am, goes and does that next row, not even the next two rows, just that next row. It's like, man, they literally doubled up on me because they had an extra. To be honest, we're looking at 3,000 more points. Six, that's an extra $200. Someone had an extra $200 to throw down on the game, and it jumped them so far ahead of me that we're not comparable no more.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's worth it to do that for anybody. Even the, granted, people that spend that much money are going to do it anyways. But
Right, right.
like, I would agree with kind of what Brad put out tonight. I would, to me, this event isn't even worth it for the big spender guys. Like, it's just stupid. What? I
Yeah,
don't get the logic behind it because, yeah, they could be testing the market, but I feel like this is such an idiotic test that it is so basic that I don't see how they thought anybody would think this was a good idea or a good offer.
it's
It's that bad.
it's
Yeah,
predatory.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, it really is. It's literally saying, you know, who's going to be willing to spend what? And we already know that they run spending algorithms, so it's like, are you guys gathering this information so you can literally tag certain spenders' accounts and like, I got a wild card for my. I mean, I've spent a good amount of money on this account, but I got a level 45 wild card offer today that was for gear, and it's like, man, you offer the same gear, more of that gear for 25, maybe $30, and you're offering it to me for like 50, $60 now. Wild card. It's like,
Right.
is it because I've spent so much on, in a short period of time, or is it because, it ain't, there's no way in hell they would offer a free-to-play player that deal. And you know what I mean? And it's not that necessarily like, oh, well, we want to keep them good bonuses. It's, you don't offer the general public that deal when you release gear pack. You literally inflated it. And there's been people talking about, before the PC version where people can now buy in US dollars regardless of where they're at, as long as they're on the Play and Play app. But it's almost, people used to complain about they would, even after the conversion rate, people would spend more because they're buying out of, Australia or Europe or whatever like that. They would literally spend more for the same exact packs that Americans were getting for, certain prices. And it's,
that's crazy.
Right, and it's like, man, are you guys literally tagging, putting as much restriction as you can, so that way, if you've already spent this much money, if you're buying from this location, you're gonna have to spend more. It's like, this ain't import exports. This is digital, digital currency, digital property. It's doesn't matter where you're buying it from. There's no shipping involved. There's very little political taxes and and shit like that. So it makes no sense that they just increase the value of stuff out of nowhere. And and then if you incorporate that into what it would take for an American, based off of that, that situation, what it would take for an American to max out this event is, is as a percentage less than what it would take for an Australian or a European, and it's very biased.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then on top of all of that, they kind of set a precedent that, we have a rate up, a 2x rate up on shards that alternate. You know what I mean? And everybody's kind of looking forward to this next step. They're literally planning their shard usage and how they're playing out events and everything based on this. And now it kind of seems like they're holding it hostage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, are you a fan of the rate up events?
The rate up event, sorry, I apologize. I actually got distracted because my daughter sounds like she's crying. So, what were you saying there? I apologize.
The shard rate ups, ancient.
Oh, you mean like the double rate events?
Yeah.
I don't know if I think, to be honest, I think they should just make those the standard rates. Like, the rates are too low right now. Even in the rate up events, everything is extremely low. So my opinion is that the rates should be standardized to whatever the doubles are, and then they can run double events to double those rates. Is my opinion, because it's ridiculously low right now. I mean, 0.5% for a legendary, right? And then a 6% on a sacred shard. You're asking people to like mortgage their house type money at some point. This is just absurd,
Or just have people not advance in your game like that. And I mean, at that point in time, you're like, you're asking like, what is the developer's goal for this game? You know what I mean? People, if you're going to make it a slow progression game like what the rates suggest, then don't make it pay to win. Because then you're literally creating this huge gap between people who spend thousands and people who spend tens of dollars at a time. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's such a gap that right now there's a great, in my opinion, there's a great divide. If you're not at least Nightmare right now, then you will be left so far in the dust that you will never you won't even be on the level to watch a lot of these content creators' videos and actually learn something that applies to you currently. You know what I mean?
Well,
There's
that I 100% agree with, and that's why it's like most of the players coming in the game now. Let's say you're a brand new player to Raid right now, like brand new. You could go back to some of Brad's stuff and look at that. But if you're a brand new player coming in the game right now, there's not really a whole lot of resources for you in the current state of things. Is how I feel, right? You're getting like there's some good resources from older videos, but there's just mostly end game content. And that's it, you know. So I do think that's lacking, you know, for sure. Like, and to me, it shows like that. I feel like the game's interest is actually declining already. So I do fear: does this game even exist in a couple years from now because of that? Or maybe it exists and it's only hardcore players at that point, at that time, and that's it. Maybe that's what they want. I don't know. You know.
right, and to be honest, it's kind of decent because it leaves a gap for people like us who want to, who want to make content. Well, there's a clear and obvious supply or demand that we can supply to, but at the same time, it's to the point where if someone doesn't kind of bolster that level of gameplay, are new players honestly going to stick around to become Nightmare Plus?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's a rough market out there for, not even on a financial end, but on a player and enjoyment end.
Yeah.
Even something that's once you're in game, it kind of seems like it's easy to make 6 stars. It doesn't take that long to grind through Minotaur as long as you have some kind of resource, stash or something. But
Sure.
for these new players, I've recently heard people complain like, man, I'm so tired of just grinding food. What else can I do? And it's the general consensus, especially with all these in-game and whale players that are, all the content creators, that's what they are. They're whales, they're in-game players, they work towards in-game goals. And the thing is they tell you, oh, don't farm dungeons until you can hit stage 12 plus, and then by the time you're up there, you realize that you really have so much work to do. You have to hit all these dungeons. You have to hit keeps to ascend your heroes to even get to hitting these dungeons. You still have to do Minotaur,
Yep.
and you got to build a whole new team for certain dungeons, and it's just so crazy that it's like someone has to come in and grind their ass off for the first 2 to 3 months with efficient spending of their in-game resources, maybe even efficient real-life spending, and all this just to get to a point where they can start tinkering with shit, start playing around with team comps, or just enjoying the game, getting into the exciting content. And so honestly, we need some. I would say, as a person, like I'm blazing through with Baby Dragon after wailing the fuck out. So, but he don't exactly apply. But if I was to take the scenic route, the long route through the early and the start and mid game, I would be so dull. It would be so dull just kind of just grinding food every day for days on end to make a 6 star. Well, now I have enough to do Minotaur. There's another month gone down the drain. And it just,
which is where they really should enhance the auto battle altogether for everybody, because take a little bit of the grind out of the game. But you're going to wear people out, and people will just naturally burn out on things, right? And if you over expect them to just treat it like a job to a degree, you're going to have a lot of people quit because of that, because it does take a lot of energy and time and everything, and you have to be in the game so much. I feel like they need to actually make it where you can go in and grind that stuff fairly quickly, or that's just, even for free-to-play players. So forget the raid pass on that. Put some auto battles in there across the board for everything. Maybe it's not as much as what raid pass gets, but it'll take a little bit less of the grind, right, to actually give enough battles for people to progress.
well, I thought of a metaphor for the whole RaidPass situation.
All right.
Pretty much, with the exclusion of, these, top-rated clubs around the world and whatnot, anyone can get into the club. but only certain people can get into VIP. People who have that pass. So when it comes to Raid Pass, people should feel special. They should feel like they're VIP for having that.
Right.
They should get extra bonuses. But at the same time, everyone can go to the club and have fun and enjoy themselves. You know what I mean? They go out on the dance floor. They can meet these new interesting people and blah, blah, blah. So my idea is, outside of the whole Raid Pass thing, they should offer those, the packs and the increased login, the increased daily play time, increased unlimited, increased all the way to unlimited auto battles, stuff like that, especially with the auto clicker thing. Like, limiting auto battles, you're literally doing nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we literally need some content that, even if it's not necessarily for rewards, like, you're not really getting any actual, like, energy pots and gems and blah, 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 even if you're not getting a bunch of this, that, or the other, something that's enjoyable for early to mid-game. You know what I mean? Like, and even then for whales, they spend their whole good portion. They always keep their game going. So, yeah, they're going to grind out the mid stages on Faction Wars or the new content that's in question. Yeah, they're going to grind out their level in it. But so it doesn't even need to be like these crazy ass rewards for the end game. But you know what I mean? They got legendary books for stage 21 and shit like that. Like, it don't even have to be nothing that the end result, the end game for it is. Excuse me. Is these crazy? Right, it's about that time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to head out in like 2 minutes here because.
All right, well that's. Yeah, I feel you on that. I'm just saying, like, we need content across the board. We need rewards across the board. We need logins. They need to fix this Faction Wars difficulty thing, and they need to make the Raid Pass more. You know, I mean, there's so many things, but the thing is, they're focused so much on this end game and these whales that there's people who don't have problems spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. They can't get through the mid game without spending that, and then by then they're burnt out and people leave the game. They're these future whales that could be lining Plarium's pocket. They don't give them nothing to play until they get to that end game.
Right.
And and on top of that, even the people who have no problem being completely casual, they don't feel like spending or investing in the game because Raid Pass is crap. These events are well focused. Faction Wars is a dream, a joke to say that I'm working on Faction Wars if you haven't spent hundreds or thousands of dollars and have a crazy, insane roster. And then the few things they do have, like the 2x rate up, or here I'll give them a little clout. They did the increased auto battles, and they did it for everyone, stuff like that. Like they're limiting those things that really help the early to mid game players, or even the free to play to minnow players. They limit those things, and then constantly keep throwing out these crazy, like, well, only the 1%ers are gonna do this or get this. And it's like they are so willing to put out packs for sacreds, which should be fairly, as what they show us, when it comes time to pulling these motherfuckers in events, they should be rare. So their points shouldn't be reflected off of, well, you need 20 fucking sacreds. It's like, yeah, whales ain't even buying that shit.
Right.
Like, and they shouldn't have, the event shouldn't reflect that, and they shouldn't be focusing so much content. Like, and you ain't gonna disappoint these fucking whales if they come across an easy event. They're just gonna go find something else to do in the game.
Right.
I mean, but a fucking free-to-player is like, ooh, a free-to-play player, they're gonna be like, ooh, I might be able to get that if I spend most of my in-game, resources and a little bit of maybe even some real-life resources, and I can complete this event. So what, the whales, they're always gonna find something to bitch about, and not just whales, in-game players, they're gonna find something to bitch about. So give them at least something they can be like, well, it's for the free to play. You know what I
Sure.
mean? It's for the early game people. Like, oh well, I'm gonna max it out real quick and go about to doing what I was gonna do anyways.
Yeah.
And instead of the early to mid game or the free to play to minnow players being like, oh, that event's way out of my league. I'm just gonna go in here and do the same thing I've been doing for 2 months and grind food in Minotaur. You know what I mean? The in-game players, they already have so much that they can do. You know, that is enjoyable to do. And yet the early, mid-game, the free-to-play players, they're like, well, I can't do that new and interesting event you put out. I can't go, you know, deep into faction wars. Hopefully, I can even remember to farm the crypts daily. But not that I, you know, I'm really going to know what crypts are open today until I get the urge to even go into them. So there's so many aspects that could be worked on. But
Yeah, it could be changed.
But I would say for revenue, raid pass, and fix these faction wars, and you know that people will be happy with those two things.
Yeah.
And don't start restricting the 2 times raid up. You already have a similar, you know, a fairly recognizable rotation. Stay with it.
Yeah, man. Hey, I gotta run, dude. Sorry.
All right.
All right.
Well,
take it easy, bro.
I appreciate you, you know, sitting here and chatting with me.
All right, man. Take it easy, bro.
Yep. Well, that'll do it for the second episode of The Tavern, a raidcast with Dragon. I'd like to thank you for coming and listening to our discussion, Valar, and a special thank you to you for joining me on this episode. But my brew is stale, my buzz is heavy, and the night is cold, so I wish everyone a farewell on their journey. And as always, happy grinding, and may the shards break in your favor.